Good afternoon and welcome to What's in it for Africa. Do you have any questions? Yes.
Would you speak about energy?
Definitely.
What about economics?
Yes, for sure.
What about climate change?
Definitely.
Yes, but what's in it for Africa?
Well, you'll find out.
Hello and welcome to What's in it for Africa, the EU Africa update show with me, Uzo Madu. We're going to give you a quick rundown of the need-to-know policy issues taking place here in Brussels during November. The European Union's pledge of 1.8 billion for an African trust fund to curb migration by using aid payments was swiftly rejected by African leaders during the Valletta Conference on Migration in November. Now, African leaders instead called the EU to address historic imbalances in trade and taxation. Macky Sall, the Senegalese president, who was actually called upon to represent the continent, said that multinational companies should stop avoiding taxation amounting to around 60 billion euros. He also called into question Europe's approach on accepting Syrians fleeing conflict but turning away Africans. Leaders from Niger and also Somalia reflected similar sentiments. Now, 125,000 migrants and refugees from sub-Saharan Africa have entered Europe over the last 18 months. And this story begs the broader question, which is, are we going to see a shift away from aid dependency in the Africa-EU relationship and towards a more focused approach on trade and investment? Now on to research. The European Union's flagship research programme, Horizon 2020, has earmarked a whopping €16 billion for the budget for 2016 and 2017. And it's open to the world. And actually, almost all the calls for proposals are open to African researchers. Projects and topics included under the research programme include health, agriculture and food security, ICT, transport and research infrastructures. Now, the research programme has been going since 2014 with a budget of €77 billion for 7 years, and actually 38 projects already include the work of African research. And now on to the finances. The 2016 EU budget has been set. A whopping 155 billion in commitments and 144 billion in payments. Now, this consists of more than 4 billion towards the refugee and migrant crisis, making the total spending for 2015 and 2016 under this heading a whopping 10 billion euros. Other funding streams include more than 9 billion in commitments and 10 billion in payments toward the global Europe. Now, under this funding stream is the Africa-EU partnerships, and projects related to peace and security, democracy, development and growth, and continental integration are under the Africa-EU partnership. Also funded under Global Europe is the Guarantee Fund for External Actions, and this is set up to cover the risks to the general EU budget related to loans and also guarantee for loans granted to non-EU member states. The European Parliament, led by its International Trade Committee, formulated its position on the Doha Development Agenda ahead of the big WTO ministerial meeting happening in Nairobi, Kenya. The European Parliament has put forward its position asking for a quick conclusion of the Doha round, which looks at lowering barriers to trade globally, but it has been fraught with disagreement concerning issues such as agricultural subsidies and industrial tariffs, with developed countries like the EU, the US and Japan on one corner and the BRICS on the other. Another issue the European Parliament feels quite strongly about is the speedy approval and implementation of the Trade Facilitation Agreement. Now, this agreement actually looks at how to speed up the movement, release and clearance of goods in transit. It has been ratified by the EU in October, but on the African side, only Togo, Botswana and Niger has actually approved the agreement. And it has potential for boosting intra-African trade greatly and realising the continental free trade area. It also has the potential to support African value addition, and this means moving away from the continent's long-standing concentration on primary commodities exports. So that's it for this month. Thank you for watching the EU Africa Update Show, and join us in 2 weeks' time to go inside the issue of the COP21 discussions on climate change. Until then, follow us on Twitter, subscribe on YouTube, and thank you for watching. My name is Uzo Madu for What's in It for Africa.